In this video, I'm going to show you how to carve a simple gnome. These gnomes are about 3 inches tall, but you can make them pretty much any size you want. And the craft block I will be working with is 1 inch by 1 inch. And like I said, 3 inches tall. But if you don't have craft blocks and you just want to carve a stick, you can do the same thing. The method will work. As you can see here, very similar gnome. And this guy was about 1.5 inches across. So you can follow the same steps whether you're using a block or just a stick. Either way, we can make a simple gnome. This is a very beginner-friendly project. And to start on our block, we're going to mark our center lines. Now, if you're using a stick, you're probably not going to do that, but you could start by shaving all of the bark off of the stick. Easy way to mark our center lines is to find it and then to hold your pencil in a way that your finger is resting on the edge. And you can put it down halfway through and just follow it straight up. If you need to get a ruler out and measure too, that's fine. This is a nice, quick way to mark your center lines. Not as precise as direct measuring, but it'll be close enough for what we're doing. There we go. We have all our center lines marked. If you're using a stick, hopefully you have all of your bark shaved off for the area you're carving. Now, I do have regular carving knives, but this can also be done with just a regular pocket knife. This is the Victorinox or Swiss Army Tinker. So that I'll be using today to show you that it can be done this way. So now we are going to flatten one corner and then flatten the other corner. As you can see, it's kind of give us that shape right there. This is not a step that I would take if I were carving just a regular stick. So you can skip this step if you need to. Make sure your knife is very sharp, as that will make your life much easier. And we're going to shave down to these lines that we marked on 2 opposing corners. This is basswood that I'm carving. It's very soft, it's very good for these types of projects. This stick right there, that was cherry. It was fairly green when I carved it though, so much easier to carve when it's green, but I think cherry looks really nice when it's done. So we got one side, we got a little tear there, that's okay. We'll take care of that in a minute. Make sure you're also wearing a glove to protect your hand. Learned that lesson a handful of times and finally decided that the glove was worth it. And so far, the glove has been just fine. So that's one side done. Now carve this other side. Get that down to our lines. Note that I'm pushing here actually with my left hand. I'm holding the blade with my right, but I am pushing the blade with this thumb. Get a little more control and power. So there you go. Let's see, we got a little bit more we can take off there to get down to our lines, but for the most part, that's pretty good. So now we need to decide to have the front and back. I'll probably make that the back and this the front. It's got some weird grain going on there, so that might give us some trouble later. And if it does, I'd rather have that on the back because the back is less detailed than the front. I don't use specific measurements for this, just somewhere in the middle, about halfway, and in the middle of the face is where I put the top of the nose. And we will pick right here, I guess. And we'll just swoop down to the side. So nothing too scientific about the approach. Try to do a matching swoop on the other side in both distance, angle, and everything. You kind of want to mirror that. I have the hardest time mirroring it, so it's probably not going to be perfectly symmetrical, but that's okay. Now we need to take our swoops on the back side and very shallow continue that swoop around the back to be the back of the hat. Just very shallow. You can go as, I guess you could drop it as far as you want to, but I try not to go too far with that. There we go. Now we are going to add our stop cut. So we're going to cut in, straight in to follow these lines, and then cut up to them to make a stop cut. On the corner, we'll kind of round the knife around. It's a little tricky to get that sometimes, but a little practice you will. I've made a lot of these guys. I think this will be number 106. When I'm done, I mark most of them. Sometimes I lose count though. I'm sure there are duplicate numbers out there, so over 100, I know that much. So we got our stop cuts in, and we will just carve up to it, like so. Make sure your stop cuts are deep so that you don't blow past what we want to do. If you need to go back in to secure, that's okay. We're going to carve up to those cuts we made on both sides. This is going to shape out the nose, so the deeper that is, the more defined the nose will be. So you can go as deep as you want. Going a little deeper sometimes just brings it out the features a little more, but you can see this one is a little more shallow, and he still looks just good. So kind of up to you on what you want to see with that and how far you want to go. It's the fun part. It is entirely up to you. Just make sure we get good stop cuts there. We will also do that around the back. These don't have to be super deep. We'll go up to the base of the hat. That's where we had that tear, but I think we'll be all right. We'll end up cutting most of that away, I think. Just trying to get some nice, clean stop cuts. So that's where we are at the moment. I'll try to even out these two sides here just a little bit, like so. And that's where we are at the moment. Now somewhere over here, we need, I guess you do the side, I usually do the left side. We need to put another stop cut to be our floppy hat. You can put it as high as you want, like this guy. You can put it down low, like this guy. Doesn't really matter, it's entirely up to you. You can put it on the other side. You could try to put it on the back. I've never done that, but you can attempt that. You can try to put it on the top. Then you could actually carve up and put the little poop ball on the top. That's never worked well for me, but definitely an option if you want to go that route. I'm just going to put a stop cut somewhere roughly halfway, a little lower than halfway actually, a little lower than halfway of what we've got. And just go up to it like that. Go a little on both sides just to give us some space to work with. And there we are. Now we are going to shave down the hat and round it over to start to get that gnome hat, floppy hat shape that we want. So I'm gonna carve these lines away because we don't want a flat, weird hat. We want it to be round, give the appearance of a round hat. We need to do it on the back as well, so don't be afraid to go around the back. I will say be careful when carving off the edges. Don't go too crazy here, otherwise your hat will thin out fairly quickly. So just be careful when you're doing the true edge over here. We do need to carve it away to round the edge, but you don't want to go too much. Otherwise, your hat will get very thin at the top and it'll look kind of strange. And to fix that, then you got to carve away other spots, and yeah, kind of like that. See, I did a little bit there, a little more than I would have liked to, but I think we'll salvage that. So at the top, you can carve away the top just a little bit first, which I would recommend. And now, go all the way around that. And now we need to round this over. So I like to go on an angle kind of like this and just shave away that edge. Shave away that end grain. Get that nice round look like that. So we just go around. You can don't try to take it all off at once. Just do one pass to get the angle, and then on a more steep angle, keep going to get that end grain off to give us more of a carved top look. Where you see this look like a very sudden change, we can just shave kind of the edge there, and that makes that much softer change to get that rounded look. And we'll do a similar thing over here too. All right, down at the bottom of the hat, we need to round those flat planes to give that a softer look and not this sudden. You see how this is still flat. This is the edge of the block. This is the edge of the block that we're dealing with here, and we don't want that. We want to have it a nice gradual curve. So to do that, we just very shallow angles in each of those flat spaces. And if you keep attacking these edges right here in a very shallow way, and you just follow the new edge that you made, eventually you'll get a round object. So we can also do, some stuff like this. We'll do a little bit more of that near the end. So we have the basic outline for his hat. Forgot to round the back. Rounding the back isn't as imperative as rounding the front, but it's still good to do. It's still something you want to do. This is where we had that tear out, so we have to be careful. When you have a tear out, the first thing I would recommend you do is to try to go the opposite direction that you were doing when the tear out occurred. If that doesn't work, first step is to make sure your knife is very sharp, and then try to go, I don't know if I can do it here, try to go on an angle away. So instead of going straight at it, try to go on an angle across. That oftentimes works for me to be able to get those out. Okay, so the next thing we do, there's a couple different ways you can do this, and I'm going to show you both ways. So we need to create this line right here to indicate the floppiness of the hat. Now there's, like I said, there's two ways to do this. One, you can use a V-tool if you have one. Very handy, and what you would do with that is just pick how far you want to go. I usually pick something like right here. It can be a little longer, a little shorter, entirely up to you. And you go down, and you just meet that bottom, and that creates it for you. You can go as deep as you want. I'd recommend not going too deep, but you can go as deep as you want to carve that out. But if you don't have a V-tool, you can still do it with just your knife. It's a little more work, a little tricky, so you go in, try to match your same depths, and then you're essentially making that V-cut that the V-tool did for you while you're just doing it with your knife. So you do that. So now we got those two cuts, and we want to round over this floppy part of the hat. So we just take that angle off. Just attack those corners. You attack corners long enough, it will become round. Or at least the perception of round. Which is good enough for us because we are whittling a gnome. This piece is stuck in there. There we go. Now we have our flappy part of the hat. Not too bad. You can clean that up a little bit if you need to in there. I have a step later that helps with that, so you don't have to clean it up as much, but it's entirely up to you. Next, we're going to do is we're going to draw in his nose. Now, I recommend putting the nose somewhere, basically the bigger. So the further down you go, the bigger the nose will be. But this will also give you more room to work with the nose in case you mess it up or something. So I recommend going somewhere down here. And we're just going to go straight across. It looks a little curved right now, but we're just going to go straight across. Here on the nose. We're going to add a stop cut right here and carve up to it. So stop cut. I often get this on an angle for some reason, but that's okay. We can fix it. It's not hard. Up. You want to make sure we get a nice deep stop cut for our nose and carve up to it. And this is where earlier when I said carving this out deeper is going to help define the nose. I'm actually going to carve out a little bit more of this. There we go. To define that nose. Nose needs more defining. There we go. Alright, now to give the round appearance of the nose, what do we do to make something round? Well, you attack the corners. So we're just gonna put 2 down cuts right there. And kind of do a 3-corner cut to get it out. So what that was, I know I kind of did that quickly. So you go in, how far you want to go to take the corner off. Make sure you got a cut here. Should have had that already, but if you don't, make sure you got a cut there. And then you kind of slide underneath it from either that direction or this direction and take out the corner. Chip cut, corner cut, it's got a couple different names. But we will now continue to clean up that little space because that will give us more definition for our beard and the nose. So put that in, go down, get that 3-corner out. There you go. Now what else we'll do with the nose is we're going to round off this hard edge that we gave it. And just kind of taking away those hard edges, soften them up a little bit, give the appearance. Oh, see, I just took off more than I wanted to, but that's okay. So we just clean it up a little bit, try to make the side match a little more. And there you go. And that is often why I want to make the nose bigger than I think I do, because something like that happens. You just take care of it, and it still looks just fine. And we will soften this hat edge. We'll do that again at the end, but take care of that. Now you got your nose and your hat. And now we're drawing in the beard. There's 2 places you can put the beard. 2 places on the edge you can start the beard. So you can start at the corner of the hat that's already here, or you can start down here where we've made this change. And if you do this one, the beard will appear wider. If you do this one, the beard will appear thinner. This guy, I'm thinking kind of wide. So we're gonna go like this. drawing that beard as symmetrically as we can. Now we'll be creating stop cuts. So we're just gonna follow these lines, deep stop cuts in, and then relief cut up to it. Sorry to keep bumping the table and that messes with the camera. If you made it this far, thanks for checking out the video. I hope it's helpful for you. Hope you're enjoying the gnome. Hope you're enjoying your whittling journey as well. So that's something I've been whittling, wood carving for a while, ever since I was a kid, but gnomes wasn't really something I ever made. So I had some trees come down in my yard, and I was thinking, what am I supposed to do with all this brush? Because I had firewood and whatnot. And I thought, well, I don't want to just burn all of it, so I was looking on Pinterest and saw a gnome and thought, hey, I can carve that. So gave it a few tries, and here we are, 106 gnomes later. This is what we're doing. They are fun though, and they're fun to give away. I've sold quite a few of these guys, but they are fun to give away too. They're fun to do different stuff with their hats. I'll show you some examples of that at the end of some of the other hats I've done. It's really fun to experiment with their hats with colors and carvings and different styles and whatnot. But now we got our beard defined. Now we're going to carve out their legs or their boots. Try not to go too short on these, so I really would recommend somewhere up here, because you can always carve more away if you want. So, you know, right around halfway. We're not using exact measurements here, so right around halfway. What we're gonna do here is we're going to stop cut in and then carve down to it, and that will separate the beard and the shoulder area from the boots. So we're gonna carve that. Don't be afraid to wrap around towards the back part of the gnome. That's okay. It helps clear that space. Now I'm right-handed, so this part over here is a little trickier for me. I really try to avoid carving towards myself. It's just something I was taught as a kid, but sometimes it's nearly impossible to avoid. So cleaning out that area can be kind of hard. I usually go in and then very carefully carve down. I did have the knife slip one time when I wasn't wearing the glove, and it got me real nice, so be careful with that. And we'll just go in and carve that away. Now we have his boots defined, and we are in the home stretch here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to round over his beard. You see, this is still the flat part we carved away, and these are the actual size of the block we used. All these steps are still applicable to the stick. I've never given boots to a stick though, so I mean, go ahead and try it. I would love to see it if you do that. Usually I just carve it away and, you know, relief cut the beard, define the beard, and we'll round it out. But you could still give boots to that guy. So now we're going to round out the beard. So we start with attacking these lines that we drew in earlier. That's how I know what areas, you know, we carved this way, but this was still the face of the block that we saw. Our knife has not touched that, so I'm gonna get that away. We had a little tear out there, that's okay. We'll probably end up carving enough away that won't matter. Carve those lines away. There we go, that's a nice looking beard. Very nice looking beard, actually. Kind of jealous, I can grow a beard. Wish I could. Maybe someday. I got time. Alright, so we rounded over the front part of the beard. Now we need to round the edges of the beard where it meets the boots. So, very much like we did the top part here of his hat, we're going to just take off at an angle and then work that angle down to give that rounded look. And we can work our way into the body of the beard if we need to. It's more about giving that rounded look, getting those hard edges cut away to have a more complete, subtle look. So we got that side done. Now again, this side, because I'm right-handed, is a little harder to do, so you do have to go kind of towards yourself a little bit, so just be careful when you're doing this. Try to get that angle right as much as you can. It's a bit of a challenge, something I'm still not fully mastered. And we're getting some choppy cuts here, so sometimes I go this way and just kind of try to sweep it down and then round it off like I did earlier. Forgot to grab my brush to brush the chips away. So that's where we're at so far. Almost done, not quite there. We need to give a little more defining to this side of the hat where we made that cutaway. So we go up to it very gently, very subtly to get that hard edge we had there. And we also need to do that to the beard. We need to cut away that hard edge that we have and make it more subtle. So we just do that by shaving up to the hat and then deepening the stop cut between the beard and the hat. And that gives you a little bit better transition from beard to hat. And now we just need to round off the back side of the gnome. Try not to do this too much. It'll make his legs really thin and it'll make it hard for him to stand up. So be very cautious with how much you take off here, but make sure you round it. Otherwise you run into that same issue we've been trying to deal with this whole time. If we don't want it too blocky. Nothing wrong with flat plane. Give it that jeweled texture so you can see it was hand carved, but we want to take off those hard edges as much as we can. Something else I also like to do is I like to see where the beard is. Oh, it's not quite even. There we go. I go straight from the beard and back and create a stop cut here. I should cut in and then do a V cut to separate his legs on the back. Try not to go too high. It's a little weird if you do. It just looks a little strange. You'll find something you like. So start shallow and go up if you can. Separate his legs on the back. Now we're going to round off the hard edge of the hat. And I recommend getting the corners on the hats. Make sure you round those off really nicely. It gives a good like wrap around look when you do it. You can see the difference between this one and this one. It gives it a nice continuous hat, you know, that 3D. Hold on, that tore out. There we go. That 3D look. And you can, you know, go back up to it if you need to clean up. But there you have it. This is our 3-inch simple gnome. Now often I wood burn the edges of my gnomes anymore. I think that's pretty cool. It's not something I did at the beginning, but it's something I do now. I just wood burn each edge. I wood burn there on the boots, his legs, between the hat and the nose and everything. So I would burn that, give it some more definition. These guys, like I said, I never added the legs to the ones I did out of a stick, but add some either mineral oil or I use Howard's Feed Wax, give it a nice natural look and finish. I think it looks pretty cool. You can do some other options with their hats between painting them or carving them. So this one was a Merry Christmas gnome. You know, I wrote Merry Christmas on him, red and green. This guy became an ornament, and I carved a little poof ball. The way you do that is you just carve in, create a V cut, and get that little poof ball. You know, I painted him. I'll get that later. Painted him close to look like Santa Claus. These guys are smaller versions. This one's actually a magnet, So these guys are smaller versions, same idea, same method, it's just shorter. A couple more Christmas ones. This one I added a mustache to. This was a regular, cherry stick. So yeah, he has a mustache, but other than that, same process. This guy I would burn my logo into. Also cherry, you can change up their hats as well. You can give them something like this. You can give them a top hat. This guy's actually 4 inches tall, and I gave him a kind of a top hat look. And then we got, this guy, gave him a Christmas tree hat gnome. I made some of these and made them ornaments as well. Those are fairly popular when I did that. This guy here I carved like a pumpkin face into, call him a Jack-o'-gnome. So gave him black pants. I carved a version with green pants. You can carve different, pumpkin faces in there. So you got all sorts of options between painting and adding different hats to them, giving them different hats, carvings, painting designs. These like Christmas sweater looks, those are just painted on. Those aren't carved in. The Santa, I give him a top hat, different sizes. You can make them taller or shorter or whatnot. Flappy hat the other direction. They do make good magnets as well. So I hope you found this helpful. If you got any other ideas, if you want to see Carve, make sure you put a comment below. Subscribe if you haven't. And thanks for checking out the video, and happy carving.